In the next 25 minutes, you're going to adjust your ears to fast English so you can understand native speakers on TV, movies, YouTube, and everywhere outside of the classroom. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. What do you mean she can't make it? Did you hear what I just said? What do you mean she can't make it? I said, what do you mean she can't make it? But of course, I didn't say it like that. I said, what do you mean she can't make it? Notice how I said, what do you? What do ya? What do ya? What do you mean? What do you mean? This is called connected speech, and native speakers love connecting their speech. But of course, this makes it difficult for you to understand us. So let me share the most common connected phrases that you need to know. The first one, of course, what do ya? What do ya? What do you mean? What are you doing? What do you want? How do you know she can't make it? Did you catch this one? How do you? How do ya? How do ya? How do you know? What you doing this weekend? Did you get this one? What are you becomes what ya? What ya? What ya? What you doing this weekend? So make it your goal to learn these connected phrases, but for now, focus on the top 3 you need to know. What do ya? How do ya? And what ya? How about this one? How are you going to get to the mall? How are ya? That's a connected phrase. How are you? How are ya? How are ya? Gonna. Now this is a reduction. We take 2 words, going to, and we reduce it into one, gonna. These are informal. They're very casual, but they're frequently used in spoken English. I gotta go. I'm sure you know this one. Got to sounds like gotta. I gotta go. Give me a break. Gimme, gimme, give me a break. Give me sounds like gimme. I don't know. I don't know. Don't know as a reduction. I don't know. I want to go to the movies. Want to becomes wanna. Start with these and pay attention and keep adding more reductions to your speech. We'll be there at 5. We'll be there at 5. We will be there at 5. We'll be there. Will. This is a contraction. We take 2 separate words and we form one word. The thing you need to know about contractions is that they are grammatically correct. You can use them in your spoken English and your writing, and although they do sound more casual, they are grammatically correct. I would never say it is a hot day. I would say it's a hot day. It's a hot day. I would not say she is my friend. I would say she's my friend. She's my friend. Now, because of this, students might not get the verb because it's in a contraction. You must learn contractions if you want to understand native speakers. Let's start with the most common. It is, it's. There is, theirs. I have, I've. You are, your. Should not, shouldn't. Will not, won't. Start with these and keep adding contractions to your speech. It will help you understand native speakers. Let's try that listening exercise from the beginning again. What do you mean you can't make it? What do you mean you can't make it? I'm sure you already understand this a lot more because you now understand the connected speech. But did you also know I said make it, make it? Now, if you looked at each individual sound, it sounds like May, kit. So you might be thinking May, the month of May, April, May, and kit, like a Kit Kat bar? I don't understand. This is linking. Linking is when we take a sound from one word and we put that sound on the next word. We do this in English to help us connect our speech and smooth our pronunciation so we can speak without pauses. Make it. Notice there's that k on make, but it forces me to take a pause. Make it. So to get rid of that pause, I take that k and I put it on the next word. Make it. Make it. Let's try another listening exercise. You shouldn't walk alone at night. Now, I used a contraction. Should not becomes shouldn't. You shouldn't. And then I said walk alone. But again, there's that k sound. So I take that K sound and I put it on the next word and it becomes cologne. But cologne sounds a lot like men's perfume, which we call cologne. For women, it's perfume, but for men, it's cologne. So this can cause confusion because you might think I just said cologne, meaning men's perfume. But this is part of walk alone. Walk alone. Walk alone with linking. The best way to get comfortable with linking is to study native speakers. So instead of listening to an entire 30-minute episode, just listen to one sentence on YouTube or on TV and pause and listen to that sentence many, many times and really get comfortable with how those sounds are pronounced together. And really get comfortable with how those sounds are pronounced at a natural pace. Let's try a listening exercise. I got a lot of merch. I got a lot of merch. I got a lot of merch. Here I used a reduction. A lot of is pronounced a lotta, a lotta. Now what is merch? Maybe you understood the sound. You understood I said merch, but you have no idea what that means. That's because native speakers, we shorten words all the time for no reason. This is very casual and informal, but it's done in both a professional and social context. So merch is short for merchandise. If you work in a company that buys and sells products, most likely your coworkers will say merch, and you might not understand what they mean. That's a fab dress. Fab is short for fabulous. I have to take my cat to the vet. Vet is short for veterinarian. Are we meeting at HQ? HQ is an acronym for headquarters, which is the head office, the main office of a company. But pretty much everyone calls it HQ. So when you're studying native speakers, listen for these shortened words and just make a list of them and keep adding the most common ones to your speech. Let's try another listening exercise. You gotta cut it out. You gotta cut it out. I used a reduction, got to, gotta, you gotta. Cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. Now maybe you heard the what and you're thinking, what does Jennifer have to cut out? Does she have to cut something out? But no, because this is an idiom. So to understand native speakers, you have to learn phrasal verbs, idioms, and expressions because we use them all the time. Take a look at this article from Forbes magazine. Now, everything I have underlined is either a phrasal verb, an idiom, or an expression. And they don't have literal meanings. So maybe you understood the word cut, but that doesn't help you understand my message because it doesn't have a literal meaning. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds of phrasal verbs, idioms, and expressions, but don't worry because I have many video tutorials on my channel already. So make it your goal to add one a day, one phrasal verb, idiom, or expression a day, and that will be 365 in 1 year. And by expanding your vocabulary with these phrasal verbs, idioms, and expressions, it will really help you understand native speakers. So now you know exactly what you need to do to understand native speakers. So which are you going to focus on first? Which do you have the most difficult time with? And if it's number 6, phrasal verbs, idioms, and expressions, I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers on TV, movies, and YouTube so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary, learn advanced grammar, learn correct pronunciation, all at the same time. So you can look for the link in the description for more information on how to join. Now that you have the strategies to understand fast English, let's do some more listening exercises. Here's how this lesson will work. I'll say a sentence 3 times and you need to write down exactly what you hear. After, I'll explain the pronunciation changes that I used in spoken English, and I'll explain what the expression means. Are you ready for your first listening exercise? Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Did you get this one? I said get out of here. Let's talk about a common reduction, outa. Out of, side by side, you can pronounce as outa, outa. Get out of here, get out of here. And if you don't feel comfortable using that in your speech, that's fine, but you should understand it because native speakers use it the majority of the time in spoken English. Outa, get out of here, get out of here. And maybe you understood the words, but did you understand the expression? This might be a trick question because there are actually 2 totally different meanings for this expression. There's the more literal meaning where I want you to leave the room that I'm currently in, being here. Get out means leave, leave. Of here, of the room I'm currently in. So I'm recording this video and my annoying little sister barges in and starts talking. Get out of here. That's what I would say. Now, most likely you're going to say it with a little bit of anger or annoyance. Get out of here. And it's not a very polite expression. So if you politely want to ask someone to leave, don't say, get out of here. You should say, would you mind leaving? Could you please leave? Because I need to film a video. Get out of here is also used as an expression to show shock or surprise at what someone said. So let's say my friend just told me she's going to move from Chicago to Australia, around the world, and she has lived in Chicago her entire life. To show my surprise or even shock, I could say, get out of here, get out of here. It's almost like saying, really? Wow, I can't believe it. Get out of here, get out of here. Now with this expression, it will be lighter. There won't be that anger or annoyance in it. Get out of here. There'll be more surprise in it. Get out of here. So the meaning will depend on the overall context of the situation, and also look for the tone of voice because that can be very helpful to decide. Our next listening exercise, I'll say it 3 times. Give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break. Did you get this one? Give me a break. Pretty easy, right? Did you hear that reduction? Give me, gimme, gimme, gimme. Again, you might not feel comfortable using reductions in your speech, but you should understand them because native speakers use them most of the time. Give me a break. What does this mean? This is another expression. We use this to express disbelief in what someone says. Let's say I am watching TV late at night and I see an advertisement for a pill that is supposed to help me lose 20 pounds overnight. That's what the ad says. If I want to show my distrust or disbelief with this ad, I can say, give me a break, give me a break. There's no way that's true. Give me a break. So that's a fun expression you can use, and remember that tone. You'll want to add some sarcasm into this. Oh, give me a break. Are you ready for another listening exercise? I'll say it 3 times. My sister'll know. My sister'll know. My sister'll know. I said, my sister will know. Did you hear the verb will? My sister'll know. Probably didn't hear it, but maybe based on the grammar, you understood that it has to be there because my sister know doesn't make any sense. Something's missing. My sister will know. You probably know that we form subject will contractions. I will go, I'll go. You'll go, he'll go, she'll go, it'll go, will go, they'll go. Those are subject pronoun contractions and they are grammatically correct. Learning contractions is another must when you want to understand native speakers. In this case, a noun phrase, my sister, isn't contracted grammatically. But in spoken English, we combine them together anyway, even though grammatically this isn't done, simply to be able to speak faster and confuse students. But remember, grammatically, we only contract subject pronouns with will. So in your writing, make sure you don't write my sister will as a contraction. But in spoken English, you'll hear it. Another listening exercise, I'll say it 3 times. You ought to call her. You ought to call her. You ought to call her. Did you get this one? You ought to call her. So here, ought to, a very common reduction, oughta, oughta. Ought to is a modal verb used to express necessity. More commonly, you should call her, but you can also use ought to. You oughta call her. In spoken English, native speakers will say oughta the majority of the time. Now, did you hear call her? Maybe to you it sounded like one word, collar, collar, like a dog collar. That's because we drop the H sound on her and it sounds like but we also combine it with the previous word, call, and then we combine them, collar, collar. Again, based on context, you'll understand that I'm not saying collar like a dog collar, and I'm in fact saying call her. You ought to call her. How about one more listening exercise? I'll say it 3 times. I had an inkling she'd bail. I had an inkling she'd bail. I had an inkling she'd bail. Oh, did you get this one? I had an inkling she'd bail. She'd bail, she would, as a contraction. This is a grammatically correct contraction. She'd bail. I had. Had can also be in a contraction with a subject pronoun when it's the auxiliary verb. So if I turn this into the past perfect, I had gone, I can say I'd gone because then had is the auxiliary verb. I'd gone, I'd gone. But here, because it's the main verb, we don't turn it into a contraction. I had an inkling she'd bail. What does it mean she'd bail? Bail? Well, when someone bails, This is an expression that's used when someone doesn't do what they said they were going to do. And we specifically use this with plans and arrangements. So let's say I made a plan with my friend to watch a movie on Saturday at 7 o'clock. And Saturday, 7 o'clock, no friend. She bailed. She bailed on me. I can't believe she bailed on me again. She didn't do what she said she was going to do. And again, we use this frequently with plans and arrangements. Now, what's an inkling? An inkling. I had an inkling she'd bail. An inkling is a slight indication, a slight hint, a slight suggestion. So something my friend said made me think she was going to bail. Maybe she didn't sound that excited about seeing the movie. Maybe she's been talking about how tired she is. So that's an inkling. An inkling. That's fun to say. An inkling. I had an inkling she'd bail. You're doing an amazing job. Let's keep going with the next listening exercise. I'll say it 3 times. Cut her some slack. She's a newbie. Cut her some slack, she's a newbie. Cut her some slack, she's a newbie. I said, cut her some slack, she's a newbie. Did you get that? Do you know what this means? First, let's talk about the pronunciation changes. Her, him, and them, we often shorten these. So her, I get rid of the H sound and it sounds like er. But then I combine it to the word before. Cutter, cutter, cutter. Cut her some slack. She's, this is a contraction. Native speakers use contractions all the time in spoken English. She's represents she is. She is a newbie. She's a newbie. Now, do you know what this means? To cut someone some slack, this is an expression, and it's when you punish someone less severely than you normally would. And a newbie, this is a new employee. A new employee, or even a new member to a group, you can refer to that person as a newbie, a newbie. So it makes sense that you might cut a newbie some slack. You might be less severe with that person because they're new, they're still learning, they're still training. Cut her some slack, she's a newbie. Our second listening exercise, I'll say it 3 times. Give me 20 to whip up some appies for the party. Give me 20 to whip up some appies for the party. Give me 20 to whip up some appies for the party. I said, give me 20 to whip up some appies for the party. Give me, we reduce these to sound like gimme, 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 gimme 20. 20 here means 20 minutes. Commonly, we drop the minutes when it's obvious. Call me in 5 instead of call me in 5 minutes. Give me 20. Give me 20 minutes. Give me 20 to whip up. Whip up is a phrasal verb. For the pronunciation, notice is whip up, whip up, whip up because of linking. Whip up. Whip up means to prepare something quickly. We specifically use this in a cooking context. Whip up some appies. What are appies? Well, I just said that we use the phrasal verb whip up in a cooking culinary context. What does appies sound like? Anything you can think of? Appetizers. Appetizers. Native speakers, we love shortening words. So we take the word appetizer and we shorten it to appy, appy, because It's plural in my example, appies, appies. Another common shortened word is simply apps. So you could say, give me 20 to whip up some apps, or whip up some appies. Both are commonly used. Are you ready for your next listening exercise? She's got some nerve sauntering in 30 minutes late. She's got some nerve sauntering in 30 minutes late. She's got some nerve sauntering in 30 minutes late. I said, she's got some nerve sauntering in 30 minutes late. For pronunciation, notice she's got. Here, the contraction is she has. She has got. I know this because grammatically it isn't correct to say she is got. It's she has got. She's got. She's got some nerve. What does that mean? To have some nerve is an expression to say, how dare she? She has some audacity. So you're criticizing her behavior to say that she has no right to do something. She's got some nerve. Now, what does she have no right to do? Well, is sauntering in 30 minutes late. To understand this, you need to know what saunter in means. When you saunter, it means you walk in a very relaxed, casual, unhurried way. To saunter. In here means into the office, into the room, into the meeting. She sauntered in 30 minutes late. So basically, she came to the meeting 30 minutes late, and when she came, she was so relaxed and she didn't show any sense of urgency, even though she was 30 minutes late. She's got some nerve doing that. Our next listening exercise, I gotta hand it to you. I didn't think you'd pull it off. I gotta hand it to you. I didn't think you'd pull it off. I gotta hand it to you. I didn't think you'd pull it off. I said, I got to hand it to you. I didn't think you'd pull it off. Did you get this one? Got to is pronounced gotta. I gotta. Hand it. Notice the linking here. Hand it. Did. I gotta hand it. Now, I said to you, but native speakers will frequently reduce both of these and say to, ya, or ya. To ya. Gotta hand it to ya. But I believe I said to you. I gotta hand it to you. I gotta hand it to ya. You'd is a contraction. The D stands for would. You would, you'd. It's difficult to hear that D because it's very soft, but grammatically it's important that it's there. You'd pull it off. Notice the linking, pull it, pull it off. When you hand it to someone, it means that you recognize that someone deserves praise or respect. So by saying, I gotta hand it to you, means I have to acknowledge that your actions deserve praise or respect. And why am I doing this? Because the person pulled something off. When you pull something off, it means you achieve something difficult. You succeed at doing something difficult. So that's why this person deserves praise. I gotta hand it to you. I didn't think you'd pull it off, but you did. Our last listening exercise. I've got to have a little me time. I've got to have a little me time. I've got to have a little me time. I said, I've got to have a little me time. Here, notice we have the same gotta reduction, got to, gotta. This time, I said, I have as a contraction, I've gotta, I've gotta, I've gotta. I've gotta have. A little will sound like lil, little, a little, lil, a little, me time. Now, what is me time? Me time is simply personal time. It's time when you can do whatever you want to do. It's your personal time. So of course, I've got to have a little me time. I must have some time for me to do whatever I want to do. Personal time, me time. Now let's do some imitation practice to make sure that you practice this natural pronunciation. I am going to say each sentence 3 times, and I want you to repeat it out loud. And you can do this exercise as frequently as you'd like. Cut her some slack, she's a newbie. Cut her some slack, she's a newbie. Cut her some slack, she's a newbie. Give me 20 to whip up some appies for the party. Give me 20 to whip up some appies for the party. Give me 20 to whip up some appies for the party. She's got some nerve sauntering in 30 minutes late. She's got some nerve sauntering in 30 minutes late. She's got some nerve sauntering in 30 minutes late. I gotta hand it to you, I didn't think you'd pull it off. I gotta hand it to you, I didn't think you'd pull it off. I gotta hand it to you, I didn't think you'd pull it off. I've gotta have a little me time. I've gotta have a little me time. I've gotta have a little me time. Do you want me to make another lesson just like this? If you do, then put yes, 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 put yes, 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 yes in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep improving your English with this lesson right now.